Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today I want to talk about a 4-year roadmap that you can use to get into BSMD programs. So if you don't know what BSMD programs are, they're essentially programs that accept you to the college out of your 12th grade of high school, but also gives you a agreement or a contract that says that you can also be accepted to that institution's medical school as long as you fulfill some basic requirements, which means keeping a minimum MCAT score, which is the medical school entrance exam, as well as having some minimum GPA. In general, people pursue BSMD programs if out of high school they want to get into a 6, 7, or 8-year medical program that allows them to bypass a lot of the entrance requirements for a medical school. And so having gone through the BSMD program process and having been accepted, as well as applying to medical schools and being accepted to medical schools, I kind of have a good idea of what it takes to be sort of really competitive through these programs. And I will say myself that I was not as competitive as I think I could have been if I knew this information. And so today I'm going to give you kind of a 4-year roadmap of how you can be really competitive to these programs, because they're very difficult to get in, like 5 out of 2,000 people or 8 out of 2,000 people. It's like a lot of people want to get into these programs and very few people actually go and get accepted. And again, if you're like a sophomore or you're a junior, this is still going to be valuable to you. Just focus on your section that, really matters to you. At the end, I'll also talk about, some basic things that you need to do to become a really standout applicant for these programs. Alright, freshman year, you just want to focus on building kind of a really core competency in math, science, English, social studies, but especially like your science, biology, chemistry, physics, those types of classes. Those are going to be like really important courses that you take no matter where you're going. But, GPA and SAT and academics are really important for getting into these BSMD programs, because medical school is absurdly difficult. Being a medical student right now, I just know that it's a lot more difficult than anything I've done. And so just kind of focusing on the core foundation subjects is really important for kind of building that stamina to be able to handle the rigor of medical school. The next thing is you want to kind of start to research about activities that might align with your interests and also look impressive to the BSMD programs. And if you start earlier, you're going to have more hours and more experiences to be able to talk about in interviews and essays. And so this could mean joining a science club at your school, joining biology Olympiad at your school, joining like chemistry Olympiad, right? It could be like studying for one of those competitions. It could also mean like starting to email people in your local hospitals who run a volunteer organization and asking them if you can volunteer at the hospital. It could mean emailing a local doctor who runs a clinic and asking them if you can shadow, right? Basically just try to see if there are things that are going on around you that you can start to get involved in. It's probably going to be easiest to start getting involved in science clubs at your school, or just starting to like study a little bit and get familiarized with different science competitions at your local level. It's going to be a little bit more difficult to find volunteer work at local clinics or hospitals, but this is something that really, really is impressive when you start volunteering pretty early on. If you can get involved with something in the summer time, right after your freshman year, you'll get bonus points, because not a lot of people get involved with, internships or volunteer opportunities in the summer after their freshman year. But I think the main thing to understand is you just want to have fun. You kind of want to maximize on the fun that you're having, because things are going to get a lot busier moving forward in the next few years. All right, sophomore year, you want to continue building a strong academic foundation, do well in your core subjects, start preparing for the PSAT so you can try to qualify for the National Merit Scholarship. You'll start to get a lot of colleges emailing you if you get the NMSQT. And I got the NMSQT, and it just qualified me for so many merit-based scholarships all over the country that weren't just the NMSQT. So, it's probably a good idea to start studying for that. And while you're studying for the PSAT, you'll also be studying for the SAT, because they're almost the exact same exam. You want to continue participating in extracurricular activities and leadership positions in your areas of interest. So if you're interested in debate, you want to kind of like focus on that. If you're interested in biology Olympiad, focus on that. If you're interested in math, focus on whatever math competition is local to you. And then I'd recommend that by like January, February, you start emailing professors at local universities who are doing research, right? And you can find all this information online, and start emailing them and say like, oh, I'm really interested in working on a project that's, related to cell biology or chemistry or whatever they're working on, and tell them that you read a little bit of their work. Include that you've read their work in the email and say that, I'm looking for an opportunity for 2 months over the summer to be able to help out on research projects. Is there any opportunity that you have? And so some person will say yes, and you will have an opportunity to interview with them and actually get involved with that research. So that's kind of a really, really amazing thing that you can get involved with. Okay, the last thing is see if you can start getting involved in volunteering at a hospital or hospice or some other clinical opportunity like a clinic or something like that. Basically, a clinical opportunity is wherever you're helping somebody who's sick and you're actually in person, so not on Zoom. And see if you can start to get involved with that maybe once a week, once a month. It doesn't have to be really, really high time commitment, but if you can start to get involved in clinical spaces, it's really great to sort of write about, to gain some experience, to sort of get familiarized with the hospital, things like that. Okay, junior year is where you want to kind of familiarize yourself with BSMD programs, their admission requirements. If anything has like a unique requirement, like I think I applied to Northwestern BSMD program and they required an English recommendation letter, which I only figured out by senior year. It would have been helpful if I knew that by junior year. Keep taking challenging classes, take AP classes or IB classes, take SAT, ACT, participate in research, internships, or summer programs in the summer after your junior year. And hopefully they're related to medicine or healthcare or research or science research, clinical research, whatever it is. If you want, you can try to find something that's occurring at the same time as your junior year school year. It's probably going to be difficult because this is probably going to be the most academically rigorous year also. If you're taking classes and studying and just doing junior year and then over the summer you're doing a research program or internship or clinical courses, that's perfectly fine. Okay, finally you want to kind of prepare your application material. So by the end of junior year you should probably have like a decent idea of what your personal statement or your college essay, your CommonApp essay might be about, and maybe you have written a first draft, and then you want to kind of have a resume that actually is pretty impressive. And then maybe by the end of junior year or the beginning of senior year, you want to start asking for your letters of recommendation. I've given you a template somewhere else in this video. I can try to link it down below, but I shared with you a template email that you can use to ask for letters of recommendation. All right, by your senior year, you want to take the SAT, ACT, any relevant SAT subject tests, anything like that you haven't taken yet in the beginning of the year if you want to submit it for BSMD programs, colleges, etc. You want to complete and submit all your application materials and pay really close attention to deadlines, requirements, especially for BSMD programs because they don't follow the same system as like the general college application. And then you want to prepare for interviews if you're accepted to any. You want to visit the BSMD programs that you're accepted to or that you're interviewing at. You want to just keep up your grades. You want to participate in extracurricular activities, but also you just kind of want to relax, chill, enjoy your life because as a second semester senior, sort of a lot of the pressure is off because, the programs are already accepting you or denying you or deciding on you. And so it's a pretty great time to be there. Okay, as I promised, there's some things that you can do to really stand out in your applications. So the first thing is taking advanced or rigorous courses and still getting a good GPA on them. That's obviously always a good thing to do. Second thing is participating in research programs. So if you apply to research programs and get in, or you create your own research program by cold emailing people, that's always really good. Getting internships at hospitals or clinics are always a really, really good idea. And volunteering in community health organizations, volunteering at the hospital, volunteering at a clinic, volunteering at a hospice, those are all really great things to do to stand out in your applications. The next thing is to join a club, like a health science club, maybe any of the Olympiads, any of the science organizations, tutoring clubs, things like that. That's always really good. Doing really well on the SAT, ACT, using online resources, prep books, test prep courses, those are really good. Networking, it's still a little bit early to do really heavy networking, things like that. But asking a doctor to shadow or doing research with a researcher or finding a doctor who's doing clinical research and asking them if you can help out. Those are always really good ideas. And then finally, attending summer programs, camps in medicine, healthcare, medical research programs, healthcare, leadership programs, things that are not charging you money to participate in, but are actually just there to support leadership, support development of skills. Those are always really good ideas to kind of join and develop skills and go to those types of medicine and medical research programs and healthcare research programs, things like that. Okay, that's all I have for you. I hope that this is a really helpful video to kind of figure out what your 4-year roadmap should look like to get into BSMD programs. If you have any questions, I'm sure you do, feel free to leave them down. I'll make a video on it, or I'll just try to explain more about details that you need to know to get into these BSMD programs. And if this was really helpful, feel free to subscribe. See you in the next video.